There's always somebody on the internet getting slammed, and right now it's Ian Garry and his wife Layla, and I've met both of them, actually, through karate combat a number of times. And my thoughts on them, a little positive, and there is some negatives in there, but I want to tell you about my experience meeting them, what I think of them, and then maybe just go through a few other little factors which we should keep in mind before we judge somebody. So the first time that I met Ian Garry was actually at Karate Combat. Layla, his wife, is, I think she sort of presents the fighters, does a little bit of post-fight commentary with them when they're done their bout. And she's been a pleasure to meet. Ian Garry, I didn't even know who he was. I was at the Karate Combat events. Every time I've been there to fight, he's there. And I didn't know who he was. And I just see this guy walking along with this really cute baby. Their kid is adorable. And I just sort of noticed because of the little kid. I always think kids are really cute. I went, oh, look at that little kid. And he just sort of smiled and nodded his head, gave me a little handshake, said good luck tomorrow. I didn't know who he was at that time. I think maybe in the last 6 months I figured out, oh, this guy was this person, he's a rising UFC star. And I thought, oh, it's really cool that he didn't come over and go, oh, hey, I'm Ian Garry, or hey, I'm Ian Garry from the UFC. He just congratulated, or good luck on your fight, and a smile and a nod. And the first impressions that you have of somebody are very often what are going to tell you, do you like them or do you not? Do they have an ego or don't they? And I just thought overall, well, this guy seems pretty nice. Didn't know who he was, but that's a nice guy. But there's been a lot of controversy around the two of these people. I keep seeing them pop up on the internet. I'm like, what is this? Why are they just so much in the media right now? So I'm going to explain that very quickly, and then I'm going to talk about a little bit of the negative. So what's all the drama about? Well, first of all, a lot of it is being directed at Layla, his wife. She's 14 years older than Ian. Okay, I'm not quite sure why that's a big deal. Lots of guys are much older than their girlfriends or wives, and we generally don't criticize them, so I don't see why we should criticize her. If Ian Garry likes her and is attracted to her, good for her. Really, that's all I have to say, good for her. And then also she wrote a book, or not a book, but a little short clip-it, 11 pages back during the FIFA, I think she said 2010, about how to become a WAG. I was like, what's a WAG? Women and girlfriends of high-profile athletes. So she said, first of all, you have to take this into context. It sounds negative because you're like, oh, okay, how to become somebody like this, how to mooch off. She's just going, I was working for a gossip magazine. It's 11 little pages. It was kind of supposed to be a satire as opposed to something serious. So the big controversy around her is she wrote this article and she's 14 years older. In my experience with her, being in the rooms, talking with her before the fight, after, walking around, meeting her, lovely person. She seems so darn nice. So nice. And you don't want to judge somebody just based off if they're nice to you. It's hard not to do. Quick example, I knew a guy in town years ago who, when I was like 18, he would spar with me. He was a crazy good boxer. He was in and out of jail. So many people were scared of him around Victoria because if he said the wrong thing or he was drunk, he would end up in fights. He would basically beat up anybody. But he was always so nice to me. He'd come in, he'd help me with the rounds. He wouldn't hurt me when I was younger. I couldn't say anything bad about him in what he'd done to me, but I recognize not always a good person. Ian Garry and his wife, to me, they've been so nice, so friendly. Does that mean they're good people in general? I actually couldn't tell you, but they seem lovely. That's my extent of knowledge with my interactions with them. The one thing that's slightly negative that I will say, once I realized who Ian Garry was, the fact that I met him and his wife, I went, oh, I'm gonna watch his fights now. want to watch a little bit about what he says. He's not the best trash talker in the world. Some people can trash talk like Conor McGregor and you go, oh, he's entertaining. It's kind of ridiculous, but I'm not taking him too seriously because I know a lot of it is for the act. Ian Garry is trying to do the same thing, but it's hard, I would say, for his opponents and the general public. There's something about the way he does it where you go, it's hard not to take it a little bit personal. There's just lacking that little bit of charisma where you go, oh, it's just for show. It kind of comes off like it's somewhat legit. And a lot of people are getting upset by that. A lot of the fighters are going, I don't like that guy. I want to fight him. He's super skilled, so he'll be tough in the ring. Tough for many people to take on. But I can get that. And I do relate to it because in his last fight, he was doing the trash talk. And I was going, no, Ian, oh, why are you doing that? You seem like such a nice guy and you're really making me not like you right now with your trash talk. But I have to remember that a big part of the fight game, if you want to be one of those big stars, is you got to shine. You got to do something to get away from the mass of the other 500 UFC fighters. So he's doing a good job of bringing his name out. And it might be in a negative way, but the biggest guys in the world, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, they played the villain, and that's why they are the super elite of the fight world. So maybe he's on to something right now. But the one thing I really didn't like was in his last fight, he had words with his opponent, and then he was beating down his opponent, and then he continued to disrespect him after the point where the guy was already broken down. His legs were just mangled. He was on the ground. The fight went done and he still wouldn't shake hands and he was still trying to, I'm not even sure at that point if he was taking it personally or he was still trying to do something to sell future fights. But either way, I went, once your opponent's defeated, be a gentleman. We've seen it in Conor McGregor when he wins or he loses. He still goes over and gives his opponent a hug and he's not personal anymore. So that was my one thing with Ian Garry. He's a super nice guy when I met him. When he was in the cage, he didn't look the nicest. And it was a shame because I do think that he actually is nice. Like I said before, his wife Layla, super nice. My interactions with him have been like just positive. I have nothing bad to say. They seem like lovely people. So keep in mind, amid everybody on the internet trying to rip into these people, and it's something that, I don't know why, but individuals nowadays, if they don't like somebody and they can type on their keyboard and bash somebody a little bit, they'll jump on the bandwagon. And I'm going, why? Have you met them? Do you know much about them? If not, maybe you should just step away from your keyboard and just wait. Wait until you actually have something to go off. So I wanted to say my 2 cents, mostly positive, tiny little bit of negative in there. And I'm looking forward to seeing his fight in a couple weeks. I'm definitely going to be watching him from now on, and I will probably cover his fight on this channel. So let's call it there, guys. Thanks for joining today. I'll see you back here soon for another video.